another video. I am Steve of Steve's Music Collection. Thank you for joining us today. So we are diving into the CD collection. Sorry, if you're expecting those to be funny, I apologize, they're not. But we're diving into the CD collection today. We're going to talk about the band, the Sidewinders, who ultimately ended up needing to change their name for legal reasons to the Sand Rubies. They're like alternative rock band from the Southwest, from Arizona. They had some moderate success in like 1990 when they were still the Sidewinders. And then right after that, and probably because of that success, they were kind of threatened with some lawsuit by some top 40 band out of North Carolina called Sidewinder. So they ended up having to change their name to Sand Rubies. And I think that kind of, whatever momentum they had, from the success in 1990, I think when they made that name change, it just kind of all, disappeared because, I don't know, I guess, especially like casual music fans, I think they don't pay attention to things like that. So if anybody was a fan of their songs and heard of this band, the Sidewinders, or maybe even picked up the record, I don't know that they would have known that the band had to change their name and just probably thought the band just disappeared, which is a shame because it was a really good band. And I can only imagine that must have been just devastating to them to have to do that. But like I mentioned, 1990, they have some success. That's when I first discovered them. Our local great college, or not college rock, but it was like a college rock station, but alternative rock station, FM 106.3, was playing their tune, We Don't Do That Anymore. And I loved that song. Found out who it was. It wasn't as easy back then. If the DJ didn't say the name, you were kind of stuck trying to find out who the heck this song was by. But luckily, they were being played quite a bit, so it was a little easier to find out who sang that song. And I picked up their essentially, I guess, their second like major release, but like I guess their third record that came out in 1990. This is Auntie Ramo's Pool Hall, and I got this. I may have picked this up through one of those record clubs. I don't quite remember if I got this in a store or got it through there, but it's a really, really good album. Can't stress that enough. Just, loads of great songs, catchy tunes, good hooks, good choruses. There's the booklet there. But yeah, this is really good, and that song, We Don't Do That Anymore, was probably the one they had the most success with. Besides that one, you have Sarah's Not Sober, Get Out of That Town. They do a cover of 7 and 7 Is, Doesn't Anyone Believe, If I Can't Have You. This whole record I really remember, like, in Last Night of Your Life ends the album. That's really good. But yeah, this was my first kind of introduction to the band, and I really like this. And their first release, which I remember, it took me a long time to find this. It wasn't until the 90s that I was able to pick this up. I believe this came out in 87 or 88. This is called, I don't 100% know how to pronounce this, but it's, I guess, guacha or something like that. It's like Mexican slang word for shit, essentially. I think they self-released this, self-produced it, self-released it. They're, down in Arizona. They're not, no record people from LA or New York are coming down to see them. So I guess they just decided to make a record on their own. That's what this is. Don't know really how well distributed this was, like I said, it took me a long time to find this. In like the 90s, I started trying, like mid 90s, I started trying to hunt down their other records. And I remember, back then, internet was in its early stages. It wasn't that easy like it is now. But I remember going into Virgin Megastore in Burbank, and they had like a catalog there, and you could look up like all the releases. And I was looking for Sidewinders to see what other albums they had. And they had this one listed as Sidewinders, but because of that title, I didn't really know their history or anything, where they were from necessarily or anything like that. So the title kind of threw me. I was like, is that them or is that some other band? And back then CDs were like 17, 18 bucks. So, you know, I didn't want to like place a special order at Virgin and then get the CD and find out it's like, you know, some mariachi band or something like that. So I was like a little nervous. So it took me a while. I probably didn't get this until later in the 90s when eBay showed up, or when I was sure that, yes, this is that band. But this, I think, is a reissue, actually, because in the booklet here, it's got like just these pretty cool liner notes just kind of going through the whole history of the band up till when they changed their name to the Sand Rubies. It's kind of interesting. They don't go into any major details about the name change, but they just mention it there. But a pretty good record on here. Clock Strikes 12 is really good. Bell Jar. Blood on Our Hands is like an earlier version of the one that's on Auntie Ramos. And there's a bonus track on here also. So yeah, really good collection. You know, you're sort of seeing the genesis of the band, if you will. Then I guess their kind of like debut record, or they signed to like RCA Records, Mammoth RCA Records, and put out Witch Doctor in 88, I believe, 89. And again, this one was a little tricky to find as well. I think it wasn't until a little like 97, 98 when I was able to finally track down a copy of this. You know, their records, other than Auntie Ramos, it was kind of difficult to find their stuff. But good record. I like this one. Let's see the booklet here. And they had a lot of like lineup changes. I was reading, you know, just a lot of like bass players and drummers kind of coming and going. But there was sort of this core group of the four of them. I mean, there's two of them that were just like, you know, on all these records, but there was sort of four of them that kind of, I guess you could say, was like the main band. But on this one, the title track, Witch Doctor, is really good. Bad Crazy Sun. They do a cover of Solitary Man. Another great collection of some good alternative rock. So now we get to the name change. I don't think at the time when I started looking for some of their other catalog, like this is 95, 94, 95, I don't know that I knew of the name change, and then somehow I found out about it. I don't remember if I read it in a magazine or somewhere, or maybe even, you know, I mean, 95 or 96, I guess, is when we get online. And maybe I found it there somehow. I don't remember. So it could have been like 96 that I discovered about the name change. And I remember going into the aforementioned Virgin Megastore, and it must have been like I heard about the name change, and I was like, let me see if they have anything. And I'm looking through their CD selection, and I knew it was Sand Rubies. I looked to see if they have it, and sure enough, there it is. They have this record. And I even remember like trying to like confirm that that's what this was, and luckily on the back of the CD that all the producers listed, I saw the two names that I knew from the Sidewinders. I saw them listed, and I was like, all right, that must be this. So I picked this up from there, and it's really good. It's not as good as like, you know, Auntie Ramos or maybe even Witch Doctor, but there's some pretty good songs on here. I liked it. I mean, I wasn't crazy about it, but it, you know, over the years, it kind of grown on me a little bit more. And here you got all the lyrics and stuff. And like I said, these two main dudes here, David Slutz, I guess, and Rich Hopkins, they were sort of like the mainstays through all the different incarnations of the band. But the other two guys, you know, appear on here as well. And those were like the main songwriters as well. But on this, I remember Goodbye was a really good track, and Santa Maria Street's the one I really, really like on that. That's my favorite song on here by far. But yeah, good pickup. And that was kind of it for a long, long time. I think I lost track. I don't know that they put anything out right after that. And like I said, after I pick up Sand Rubies, you know, that was before I even got my hands on Witch Doctor or Guacha or whatever it's called. But geez, it must have been in like the 2000s. My buddy Wiegert, who I've mentioned a bunch of times on this show, he he knew of the band. It's like one of those bands, like when he found somebody who knew of them, it was like a little surprising because it just seemed like it was kind of an obscure band. But I think he knew of them, and I think he had like I don't know if it was a bootleg or just like a collection of some of their other tracks, and it kind of reignited my interest in the band. And I remember probably went online and looked up stuff, and I found their website and saw that they had this CD available called the Sidewinders Sessions under the name Sand Rubies, and I picked it up. I kind of not sure why. I mean, it's basically a best of album, like combining tracks from Witch Doctor and Auntie Ramos. So it's not something I needed, but I picked it up. I think there's one track on here that is unreleased. So I mean, essentially, I bought this CD for one track, but it's a good. If you're not familiar with this band, you just kind of want to test the waters. If you can get your hands on this and it's cheap, I would highly recommend it because it's a really good collection from those two albums, which those two albums are certainly their best, without a doubt. But yeah, kind of an interesting pickup, the Sidewinders Sessions by the Sand Rubies. And then just last year, I was down at We Got the Beats in Florida, digging through their massive selection of CDs, and came across this one, which surprised me. This is Return of the Living Dead. Never had this one. I think I knew of it, but I never owned it, and certainly did not ever expect to find it in a used CD shop. Maybe one in like Arizona, but certainly not Florida. So I grabbed this one, and it's really good. I really like this, and this one, it's pretty much, the lineup is pretty much the lineup from those early the two, like Witch Doctor and Sand Rubies, kind of classic lineup, sort of, and then this ultimately folds out, and you've got all the lyrics there. Oops. And but yeah, it's a good one. I like this a lot. Really kind of enjoyed this one. Turn Off Your Stereo is really good. Misery, Paper Thin Line, Stranger in Town, they do, I think, is the Del Shannon song. And they also do a cover of Johnny Thunder's Can't Put Your Arms Around Her Memory, which is really good. But yeah, good pickup. Glad I found this one. I mean, wasn't looking for it, but was shocked to find it and happy that I did. But that's it. That's the Sidewinders Sand Rubies collection I have in my CDs. I don't know if I'm missing anything. I'm really not sure. I'd have to go online. I keep saying that like it's something brand new. Like, have you guys heard of this online thing? They got everything there. But I have to check. I really don't know if I'm missing anything. I feel like I'm not, but there might be something. There might be like a live record or something. And I think I don't know if they're really like an active band, but I think every now and then they pop up and do like a live show, but it's always down in like Arizona or something. It's never, I don't think they really go on tours or anything anymore. But it'd be cool to see them live, now. I imagine it'd be a good show. I mean, the songs are so great. But yeah, if you're familiar with these guys, I'd love to hear it, because like I said, they're kind of obscure. And I think a lot of people, if they remembered them, they've forgotten about them by now. But yeah, let me know. And thank you for tuning in again. And see you next time. Later on, y'all.